Chat's gone.
Oh, now it stopped.
Yeah.
Okay. What?
I don't know what's going on. Yes, everyone can hear me now. We have no idea why. No idea. Oh, I think I do know. I don't know what's going on. Yes, everyone can hear me now.
I'm getting multiple.
Yeah, what's happened is I'm doing a split screen instead of the shared image because for some reason it won't let me do it. Yes, we have the sound on. Oh, we love you guys. Give a great thanks out to Kat who has I don't know what we're doing.
Stood here going, what?
Okay, good. Yes, we get to know what we're gonna do here, and that was the sound of Diet Coke coming. So how are you guys doing? Could it be the new program doesn't work with Facebook Live? It does. We were having this problem when we were just trying to stream to YouTube. We do not know what the problem is. It could be that my computer is just crap because there's a great delay.
If you listen to how loud the fans are running,
Mhm.
that means the computer is working really hard.
Yeah.
In these MacBook Airs, they don't have a very robust video card. Unfortunately, every AV thing the computer has to do tries to use the video card's like GPU, but it doesn't really have one. So that doesn't help. That's why the program is running so slowly, because your display and your audio processing are competing for resources.
I see.
So that's why your screen is not going to be refreshing, and the cursor is going to be like sometimes.
So, you guys, just so you know, we were just talking amongst ourselves to figure this out. So things today are hopefully going to be okay, but we don't know. And I know you guys. Yeah, hopefully there'll be a recording. Because we actually don't know, and I'm not quite sure how that's going to work. And I hate to say it, but it's just, yeah, I actually got a new computer that I call the Beast, but we can't record on that because the microphone, because the computer's in the other room. Basically, we would have to have a cable that was like 25 feet long, and that was just not going to happen.
It could, but not today.
Yeah, maybe it could. Well, we do have the
This is just a
This is a U. We could do that through this front thing. I bet we could. Kat, because there's the USB right there. That's where
I know why the screen sharing didn't work, but the split screen does.
Okay.
When you have the screen sharing, it's trying to play back computer audio. So if you went back to plain old screen sharing and shared like a YouTube video, it would play the YouTube audio. So this isn't very sophisticated. It does not do audio mixing. That's my guess.
That's yeah, no, I think that's probably you're right because
when this is you,
yeah,
I can see this going.
Yes.
The audio is reacting.
All right, we need to people are like fast and furious sending comments here. We're missing them here. So guys, if you put in a comment, I'm sorry. We are still you've received 100 messages today with Restream chat. That's nice. That's very nice. Everybody's excited. We're all excited too. I think what I'm going to do, I'm going to set the title of this because this does not even have a title right now. And I just hold on with that, and then I will be right with you. Okay. So I've just hopefully that it does title it now. Going back to the chat. Okay, so this is sort of funny. I'm catching bits and pieces of the chat where like Alec is comparing his spider bite on his ass to Kelly's wasp sting. I don't even want to know what's happening. um, good deal. So, all right, let me just get back to sort of setting the stage. We're not going to start. We need to give people some time to filter in, especially with the fact that things are a little janky yet. Although it seems to be working far better now. Seems to be working okay. I feel like I have to knock on wood.
Did you change the title on YouTube?
Yes.
It says test.
That was the old one.
Oh, so
yeah.
Give it some time.
Hopefully give it some time. That was the old one. You know, this one I put in the setup. I put it up to be live reading Empire of Stars chapter 27 and 28. So, all right. We are all filtering in here. We have far more people when we do both Facebook Live and YouTube. Hey guys, it's really good to see you all. As I've been saying, we are in fact doing this for the first time, streaming live to YouTube and Facebook at the same time. We are learning how to do this, which is good. Laureen, yes, it's 27 and 28. We were supposed to do that last week, but we did not have sound due to Catherine's stupidity, my stupidity. So people are still filtering in, so I'm still going to wait a little bit. I'm going to wait till like 2:05 or 2:10 before I begin the reading. Crystal says, hi, how have you been? I've been really good. I'm working very hard on Cinders and Ashes book 2. It's sort of becoming a monster, and I'm worried about meeting my deadline. So we're going to see how the arc is going to go here. Laureen says, hey, Wraith, I missed you. I missed you too. Home 247 says, hi. Laureen says, will you be doing this in the future? Laureen, I'm sorry. Yes, we will be. We actually just paid for a whole year of the ability to stream to both. Saya says, I'm hopping back and forth between both FB and YouTube. The sound is great today. Excellent. That's very good. Kelly says, you both are not stupid. It was the gremlins. I am wholly with you on that. Helen says, you were doing great. Thank you, Helen. Sophie says, in Paris, we currently have a curfew of 9 p.m. now because of the virus. Oh, gosh. It's like we have to be home to listen to the Wraith Rain live reading. Yes. Excellent. We're trying to figure out a tasteful way to say, guys, we all have to be inside for the next while, you know, during the cold months. And Wraith Rain is going to do as much fun stuff for everyone as we can. So we really do hope that if you haven't signed up, that you do so that we can do more stuff. But there's plenty of free stuff like this to do too. But we love having members. Laureen says, oh my God, yay, that's so great. Yes, we're going to be doing these. We do live readings twice a month. If all goes well. Crystal says, can't wait for Cinders and Ashes 2. Me as well. I was boring Kat and Sylvia yesterday about my thoughts that were very like disjointed because I'm literally learning things as I write, as that always happens, and I'm having to go through to the beginning and thread those ideas from the beginning. Saya says, oh, I love the Cinders and Ashes books. Thank you. I'm so glad. I love those books too. I'm really enjoying myself. I am so enjoying myself with the world building. Lily says, how is everyone today? This is my first time in a live reading. Well, it's so good to have you here, Lily, and I hope you're doing well. Gay Fiction says, for a minute, I was so confused when you said 2:30 because it's 3:02 for me. And I thought that my phone was glitching out, laugh out loud. Yes, I am in Central Standard Time. So for me, it's 2:03, and we're going to start probably 2:05 or 2:10. Home is like, same. Helen says, thanks, you got this. Kelly says, I am double listening. I like the double listening, man. Alex says, ooh, I voted. Remember, if you don't vote, you don't get to complain about how things are run. That is very true. So those of you in America who can vote, please vote. Already did so. Kat already did so. Sophia says, I put the sound on only one side, but have both pages open to read all the comments. Cool. That's a good point. I didn't realize that. Yeah. I mean, I can see them all with this Restream IO, thankfully. So yeah, I'm really sorry that we missed out on last week because that really sucked. But it happened. In a way, it spurred us to do this week. So Ritzy says, "Oh, it's 12:04 for me. I know, and it's like 9 o'clock in Paris, and then it's like 4 a.m. in like Japan, where Saya is." Helen says, "Oh my God, I also write, and I have to say it can be a pain, but it's worth it." Yes, absolutely. It is. It is certainly that most painful thing one can do, but can't not. Let's see here. Melody says to Crystal, the cliffhanger for Cinders and Ashes is killing me. Can't wait for the second book. In a way, we are going far away from the Cinderella trope in this particular book, but that's okay. Don't worry, we're going to have the big ball and we're going to have all that kind of stuff, but we are having lots more. It's more Game of Thrones than it is Cinderella, but it's fun and magical and there's giant spiders. You'll like it. Crystal says she has left a review for Cinders and Ashes. One, thank you, Crystal. Anyone who's read it and who hasn't, if you could leave a review, I would be so grateful. Aniko says, "Oh, I am so excited for Cinders and Ashes. I also happy to be here again." And Aniko, guess what? I need you to proofread that puppy, and unfortunately, I'm going to need you to do it like quick because I'm going to be up against the limit here. I already know. Lurleen says, "Voted and got." Yes, Kat's giving me. This is my surprise face about that. Lurleen says she voted and got her daughter to vote for the first time. Lurleen, you are a goddess. Go you. Gay Fiction says, I've started reading and I get a lot of ideas from your books. Cool. All right. Home says, same here. Cicilar says, well, Facebook isn't working for me again, so I'm glad you're reading over here. I'm glad too, because I think it just gives people the option of being where they want to be. Home says, I'm still writing my 6th chapter. I think your 6th chapter and you're in a book. Oh, okay. Believe me, it's always hard at the beginning. Alex says, I'm actually kind of glad you missed last week. I was at the aquarium in Baltimore with a friend. We also picked apart a steamed crab. I saw that on Facebook. That looks really good. But then again, for me, crab always looks better than it tastes. I don't know. Sophie says, wait, no one likes giant spiders. Well, then it's a good thing that Rohan kills it. He kills it good. But yes, it's coming. Kelly says Wraith is doing both. Yes, both of us. Gay Fiction says, I was on my 5th chapter until the file deleted somehow. So now I'm restarting. Oh my God, that would be horrific. I use, in all honesty, Google Docs. I do not work on any local platform because that can happen. I literally have dropped a glass of wine on my laptop and it was gone. It was done. Tara says, why must you do giant spiders? Because I love you. I love you. Oh, and they're giant. The small ones are the size of pigs. Aniko says, yes, I can do it. I got you. She's talking about the proofreading. Yes. And other just members. So, I will be sending out an email for that. I have about a dozen people that I ask each time. And honestly, there's probably half that who actually do it because then they're like, oh, I don't have time. But it's really important. It's a wonderful thing. I give whatever they want from the store as a thank you. Ritzy says Facebook never works for me. Well, then I'm glad that I'm in YouTube now. Oh, Home says on Wattpad. Oh, on Wattpad. Okay, well, great. Good for you. Excellent. Helen says, hey, it's okay. We will love it. Yes, giant spiders for the love, for the win. Lowe says, agreed. No giant spiders. Guys, they're coming for you and they're going to crawl all over your bodies. Hey, it's better than the things I have in Empire Stars. Home is like, I hate spiders. No more spiders. Don't worry. He like totally chops its legs off too. And there's like acid blood. It's like awesome. Helen's like, no spiders. Then Melody asks, are the spiders there friendly? No. No, they are not friendly. Alex says, don't drink and hard drive. Yeah, it really and truly. Gay Fiction says I usually write on Wattpad. Yeah, I know a lot of people do. I used to when I did fan fiction back in the day, AFF and FFN. I know Wattpad's good now for unique stories and stuff. Crystal says only good spider is a dead spider. Hell yes. And don't worry, Rohan is a hero until he realizes that he's made a mistake there. But that's okay. Kelly says, "Where's a basilisk when you need one?" Seriously. Gay Fiction says, "I've just become a member, and I'm glad I did. I start reading Everdark. Excellent. I'm glad you're enjoying it." Lily says, "I strangely love spiders." Then you're going to be very sad because many die horribly. They deserved it. Alex says, "Since when are giant spiders friendly?" I don't know. They never are they? Lurleen says, "Wraith, you can be wicked in a good way." I can be. I'm wicked all the time. Lo says, "Sad, I can't see the YouTube comments over here on Facebook. Thanks for reading them out loud." I'm trying. I don't want to, annoy everybody. Julianne says, "Hi, this is new." Yes, this is new. This is our first time doing it both. Tara says, "You get way too much enjoyment out of terrifying us, Wraith." I am actually a horror writer in disguise. All the time you thought you were reading gay romance, you were in fact reading horror, just so you know. Helen says she loves us, but also hates us. You got this. Tiana says, "I would rather spiders than larvae." I know the larvae are horrific. I'm playing Baldur's Gate 3, and they use a form of like the mind flayers use these larvae to transform people. And I'm telling you, I was like, yay, but it was great. Holmes says, "I have 3 ongoing stories while drafting too." Well, cool. Wow, we got okay. Wait a minute here. "I can't stand spiders. People are always telling me to let them free, but I always end up smashing them under my shoe." Oh, I smash them all the time. Helen says, "Love the stories you write. Thank you." Larvae are gross from Aniko. Yes, they are, but they are very effective. That is probably why October is Ray's favorite month. It is my favorite month, to be honest with you. Saya says, "Bathed puppy Kohaku yesterday. She's so hairy right now. Had to groom her feet today." Which isn't the easiest. Which isn't the easiest since they're super ticklish. Tomorrow I'm going to have to tackle her body hair. It's like 35 centimeters long. By the way, I love spiders. I protect the ones I have at home. Even my dog knows that. She's not supposed to hurt them. Mew eats them. That's how that goes. Home says, "I love horror. I grew up on horror." I know, and a lot more people love it than think they love it, to be honest with you. Crystal says, "Not annoying at all. They want their comments answered too, but since we can't see them, we would be kind of lost." Yeah, I know. It is. And Pam says, "And because you write horror, I love your stories." Thank you, Pam. Helen says, "Sorry, I'm from Austria. My writing is just okay." Are you writing in English, Helen? Because that's like freaking amazing. Don't be shy about it. And by the way, my native language is English, and I still have trouble writing. Gay Fiction has a snake named Draco. She's been home, has been writing since the age of 6. I think those of us who are writers do that. We begin early. Alex says, "I prefer a nice big fluffy tarantula over the little skittering kind." Oh, these are really going to horrify you, Alec. It's going to be great. Joe says, "Can't wait to tune in later. Hope everyone is doing well and has a great time. Going to need this after my day today." Oh, I hope it sounds like you're having a hard day. All right, it's already 2:13 and I am just like I know people want to start the story. So let me just get in here. I sincerely hope that this does not freak this all out because I've got to log into the back of the site and read from there. And hopefully I will not try to change typos while I'm doing this because that's bad. I forget that I'm not just recording for Kat, who could snip that out. Snip, snip, snip. I always feel bad because when she's editing, I know that she has to like do a lot of work because of my, oh, wait a minute, that's wrong. Okay, hold on a second here. All right. Cat's doing something, so hold on one second.
I don't know if it's gonna work. But
You spider lovers are cracking me up in here. So it's like those who hate them, you'll be happy that like legs are chopped off and they're like killed. And those who love them are going to be like, oh my God, you're killing the pig-sized spiders. So Helen, yes, you're writing in English. So that's amazing. Seriously, don't, writing is a um honestly, it's as much as an art, it's really a trade in the sense that the more you do it, the better you get. And the fact that you're doing it in a language that's not your native tongue, even if you're great at that one, it's really great.
all right, I'm setting up an emergency audio recording of this in case it doesn't record.
Yeah. Well, if it doesn't, I guess I could re-record it for you.
No, I mean, I mean, I can do it right now,
Oh, okay.
and I can do this remotely also.
All right,
'Cause
great.
all I'm doing is recording my computer's audio. So
All right, so Gay Fiction is talking about his pet friend's pet tarantula. All right. All right. I'm going to start now because it's so entertaining to read the comments, but it's time to get to the meat of the matter. All right, I've got my Diet Coke here, and I'm actually closer to the refrigerator today, which is good because I need more. All right. Chapter 27. Fly Me to the Moon. Actually, I think I want my own ride up to the Osiris, Jace said, his eyes fixed on the hovering spacecraft above them. Osiris, send down the storm spike, Jace requested the ship's AI. It shall be done, the Osiris replied in its normal, dry, inflectionless tone, but Jace could have sworn there was a touch of pleasure in it. It definitely wanted him on board. Don't you want to fly with me? Thama's voice was full of amusement. No, Jace wishes to arrive at his destination in one piece, Koth answered simply. Thama let out a quick bark of laughter. Ha! Are you making jokes, Commander Vor? If your mother hears those coming out of your mouth, she'll really wonder if you've been infected by humanity. On the contrary, that is the Cryptoria 2, not 1, for a reason, so I'm being quite logical. Koth snorted and shook his head. The cell sheet in his hair clacked together. Yes, that reason is that I was saving you. I should get a Tana just for that, let alone losing my ship. Thama laughed. Are you really sure you don't want to lift Jace? It would be an honor to bring the pilot to the Osiris. Another time, Thama. I've been waiting for 10 years to be reunited with the Storm Spike, Jace told her. 10 years? Thama let out a breath, as if the very idea of being parted from the Cryptoria that long would have crushed her. Maybe it would have. He was practically quivering at the idea of getting his hands on the Storm Spike's controls. My very own spaceship. He supposed that the Osiris was his on some level as well, but the Storm Spike was more personal. Or at least it felt that way. He knew that ship backwards and forwards from the dreams. To actually be in it, to be piloting it, was more than just a dream come true. He found himself anxious to be flying. A small section of the side of the Osiris opened. It looked small compared to the rest of the ship, but it was likely huge up close, and out of it flew two vessels, the Cryptoria 2 and then the Storm Spike. Though both were Paladin-class spacecraft, he could easily tell the two vessels apart. Thama's had bright purple lights and components, while his had a spacey green color. He found himself smiling so hard that his face hurt. I felt sorry guys. I felt like you did once. The moment I saw my first F-22 Raptor, I fell in love, his father said with a slightly awed smile on his face as they watched the three spaceships. You're going to feel like that again, Dad, once I teach you how to fly a spaceship like the Storm Spike, Jace told him. Another thrill went through him. He had always admired his father. Captain Jack Parker was maverick and Top Gun, but without the grating arrogance. Before it was clear that his multiple illnesses were not going to recede, Jace had dreamed of following his father into the military to fly jets. Now he would have the chance to do something so much better than that with his father. The Alliance has never let us touch one of their spaceships. Well, Not officially, his father said. Let me guess. Thama? Jace's lips curled into a smile. His father nodded. She had me on training wheels, but it was a thrill. The Osiris's lights painted his father's face with greens, purples, and blues. Its light its lights were reflected in his eyes. Don't sell yourself short, Jack. Thama's voice continued over his comm. You were pretty damned good. And now that we have a plethora of spaceships, you'll be flying your own in no time. A plethora? Jace let out a bark of laughter. Just wait until you see the hangar bay, Jace, Thama said, awe staining her voice. It's like fucking Christmas. You truly have adopted the vernacular of the locals, Flight Commander Pyrrhus, High Counselor Nova Vor remarked. Oh, ha, hi, High Counselor. Didn't think you were on this channel, Thama said, still unrepentant. You are on speaker, High Counselor Nova Vor responded dryly. Sorry, Thama. I only have my synth skin suit on, Jace told her with a grimace. Well, I can't very well be exiled further than I am, Jace, Thama chuckled. Thama proceeded to do several loops in her ship, even as a storm spike gracefully flew to them and landed about 35 feet away. Jace's mouth was dry and his lips parted as the gangway lowered with a blast of cold air. He could taste his ship on his tongue, the faint, bitter flavor of electronics and hot calcanth. Come on, Koth. Mom, Dad, let's go, Jace said as he stepped towards his ship. But there was suddenly a blue hand in front of him, blocking his path. And it wasn't Koth's hand. We need to speak, young man, High Counselor Nova Vor, aka Koth's mom, stated with a lifted eyebrow. You do the same eyebrow communication as your son, Jace pointed to the arched brow. That had her other eyebrow lifting. I see. I have a feeling you guys are a lot alike. Jace hoped that was true. My son, High Counselor Nova Vor's eyes slid over to Koth, who stood there looking for all the world that he did not await her judgment, but Jace was pretty sure he was bracing himself internally for something unkind to be said. My son has many good qualities that I do not possess. For example, I am not so patient as my son. However, I cannot be Jace Parker. I am responsible for all of the Illumin Alliance. Jace had several pithy replies he could have made, would have made, if she'd been mean to Koth. Not to mention being blocked from the storm spike had him irritated. Plus, he was tired. But she was the High Counselor, and maybe more importantly, she was Koth's mom. So he bit back words he would regret and smiled at her. The best bet was honesty. That seemed to work well with Koth. She might be harder edged than her son, but he was betting that they shared more than just the elaborate eyebrow raises and the same high cheekbones. Before this afternoon, you didn't even know I existed, Jace pointed out. Before a minute ago, you didn't know that the Osiris could fly again. Meaning? She asked. Both eyebrows were lifted high. Koth's eyebrows were drawn together, but also in confusion. Jace could tell, though, that he was relieved Jace was being polite. Meaning that neither you, nor I, for that matter, could have possibly formed any plans around the current situation. We couldn't possibly be relying on each other for the present moment or the near future, Jace told her. Though that actually wasn't true on his side. He had been thinking of what he would do when she arrived. We should get to know one another, not jump to conclusions or rush to make plans. High Counselor Nova Vor was silent for a long moment. Then there was the faintest smile on her lips. I see. That is logical on one level. I need time. We need time to figure all of this out, Jace replied. That figuring out requires me to understand all of the Osiris' systems, not to mention Gehenna's, she said, and of course, to understand you, the pilot. No, that's what you want to know, he continued unamiably, but there's a lot to figure out outside of that. He gestured in a stirring motion between her, him, Koth, his parents, and the general. High Counselor Nova Vor stood straighter and crossed her arms at the wrists behind her back. Yet again, another Koth move. Before you, Jace Parker, humanity has had little to recommend itself to us, High Counselor Nova Vor told him. General Intoshkin's face purpled. Now look here, she continued, but clearly we overlooked something, for the Osiris chose you as the pilot. It is like the Altaith themselves shining a spotlight on a species. So who are we to look away? Jace was not comfortable with this. It seemed so wrong on so many levels. She was an alien. She had different belief systems. He was sure that he would learn things that repulsed him, just like he would believe things that repulse her. But he somehow had to keep an open mind and a civil tongue. Hold on, sip. I'm not some pinnacle of humanity, High Counselor. Humanity is good and bad, just like every species, I imagine. But what I'm trying to say is that even without me being the pilot, humanity has always had something good to offer you and the Alliance, Jace told her. She merely inclined her head. He didn't know if she believed him or not, but she wasn't going to say one way or the other. You are correct that we have much to discuss, and I wish to discuss it, starting now, she finally said. His shoulders slumped. Mother, a high counselor, Koth quickly amended. Much has occurred today for Jace. Do you think he would welcome you pointing out a weakness? High Counselor Novavor asked. Koth blued. Jace was pleased when his mother spoke up. Koth's consideration for Jace's well-being, both mental and physical, has been incredibly appreciated. Koth's head was lowered, but he glanced over at Jace's mom. I see, High Counselor Novavor said, but he wondered what she did see. Jace was just as quick to defend him as Koth had defended Jace. Actually, I'm grateful for the out. I am exhausted. I'm in no fit state to talk to you as I should. You can call it weakness if you want, but I just call it reality. The cool do not rest, she said quietly. He was pretty sure they did, but there were enough of them that it didn't matter. There was only one of him, however, and he needed a break. I understand what's at stake, High Counselor. I was aboard that hive. His smile died altogether. That gray heaviness that he'd felt before after the last cool ship had been sent to destruction fell upon his shoulders again. Being with Koth and being silly with junk food had helped, but it hadn't been enough. I had to kill people I have known and cared for all of my life today because of the cool. He did not use euphemistic language to describe what he had done, and he saw his parents flinch at those words. But he had killed people. To end their suffering, yes, but it had still meant killing them. Humans have limitations. We will work within those, High Counselor Novavor stated. Jace almost laughed because it was so like Koth's superior comment, but he had a feeling that Koth's mom wasn't often laughed at, and it might come out wrong. I'm going to help with the cool, Jace assured her. But we need an understanding, and then we need a plan. Those two things don't come together necessarily quickly. She blinked slowly. I can agree with that. Jace saw Koth's eyes widen fractionally. He was surprised that his mother appeared, and maybe appeared was the operative word here, reasonable. Good. So it's been a really long day, probably for all of us. I need to get familiar with my ship and sleep, Jace added. He scrubbed a hand over his face. There wasn't yet the feeling of sand in his eyes, but he was tired. He should be more exhausted after what he had experienced, but his supercharged body was taking care of that. But he needed to recover before he could face the Illumin Alliance and humanity and hold firm to the idea he had. Humans are limited after all, he thought mirthlessly. What do you suggest? High Counselor Novavor asked. That we all convene tomorrow, Jace told her, after everybody's had a chance to talk amongst themselves and rest. High Counselor Novavor nodded after a moment. I do need to speak with my son. Jace's eyes flickered to Koth, and panic beat in his chest. He really wanted Koth with him when they checked out the Osiris. Though, like he had said, sleep was necessary, so how much checking out would there be? Not much. And did Jace expect Koth to sleep with him? Cuddled up in an alien bed in the Osiris? That was absurd. And yet, Jace felt an internal quiver. Koth's steadying presence was allowing him to process things better. Now Koth had to go with his mother. Would she return him after the decision he'd made and that she might think compromise the alliance? I'll return him to you, High Counselor Novavor said with another of those faint smiles. Jace blinked rapidly as he realized that she had read in his expression his need for Koth's presence. For a race that seems to have so little love for emotions, they certainly understood them. Yeah, that would be good, but only if Koth wants to, of course, Jace said. You made him commander of the Osiris, Gehenna cried, clearly liking Koth's present too. She can't keep him from us. That was sort of a joke. No, it wasn't. You meant it. He's part of the crew. Gehenna wasn't taking any of his excuses. Koth has to make that decision, Gehenna. He's part of the alliance. She's his mom. If he wants to be with us, then he will. Jace was telling her that as much as he was telling himself. Jace met Koth's blue-on-blue gaze. I will meet you aboard the Osiris before your sleep period, Koth stated. Jace swallowed. Good. That's good. Okay, we're going to take a brief break here to check comments and for me to drink something. Oh my god. Okay. What do we all got here? Wow, I've missed a lot. Okay. So I'm getting past the tarantula discussion and gore. Hannah says, hi, Wraith. Forcing my sister to listen to this, though I'm sure she'll love it. Oh, thank you, Hannah. Helen says, I love your voice so much. Thank you, Helen. I wish I could do accents, but I really can't. I could just sort of differentiate a little bit. Alex said, I had a training dream last night, training me to be Batman for some godforsaken reason. Oh, that would be awesome. I'd love a dream like that. My dreams are really weird. It's like not having friends and losing my cat. It's like really sad. Jay Percy says, damn, I'm behind. Damn. Alex says, wow, Christmas. I don't want to be alone on Christmas, stupid COVID. I know. Oh, Alec, I hope you have some people in your bubble that you can be with because it's really important. Helen says, hey, calm down. You can catch up. Yes, no, I know. Everyone can catch up to this. Nothing's going away. Gay Fiction says, oh my God, I really want to listen to this, but I haven't listened to the last one, so I'm going to have to stop listening so it doesn't spoil me and I'm not confused. I have to go. Bye, Gay Fiction. That's no problem. Alex says, so much eyebrow talk. As long as Ernie's, I can't even say that word, don't get involved so thick and bushy. Yes, I love that they do the same things. Tiana says, heavy eye rolls at the High Counselor. Yeah, tell me about it, right? Right? Although, honestly, if you think about it, she is in the most unenviable position of anyone. And she truly does love her people. And and it's just, I think the horrors of war with the cool and lack of resources are really grinding her into the ground, as well as political enemies all around. Holmes says, I was late months ago. This is one on time because I always forget. I should have my ADHD, so I understand. Aniko says, hi, Counselor Trickery. Yes. Melody says, hi, Counselor's plotting something. Oh, she's so plotting something, as we'll find out. Helen says, wow, like you don't have limitations learning. I know, exactly, like Elbacop. They're so arrogant about their stuff. Helen says, yes. Tiana says she thought she could walk all over Jace. And he said, not today, sis. Yeah, he's going to do more of that as well. But he's really, Jace is a nice person. He's a kind person. He's not, but if he's pushed, he'll do what he has to do. Helen says, sorry, I meant, yes, Cuddle. Yes, I know. He should be part of the crew. Absolutely. Crystal says, Jace needs his big blue teddy bear. He does. Alex says, yes, bed. They should all be completely exhausted. The lack of bedtime in this story is stretching my suspension of disbelief rather thin. The problem is I've been doing it minute to minute to minute, but so much has happened. I feel like it really should have, yeah, I don't, the timing in this is really off, but it is what it is. Fritzy says, do I read comics? Yes, I do. I do read comics. I do. I actually have a subscription to Comixology, so I can read a lot of comics. Home says, I'm forcing my BFFs to listen to this. Oh, don't force them. I mean, I hope they enjoy it. Helen says she loves comics. Yes, they're awesome. Sophie says, yeah, I also feel completely exhausted with the characters and the day isn't over yet. I know. It's like ridiculous. ridiculous. I might have him just say to Jay, say to Koth, whatever you have to speak to me about, it's gotta wait till the morning. Ritzy says, Helen Adams, you should read Along Exposure by Marsoid. I don't know what that is. Um, and Alex is replying to Crystal. I actually sleep with a 6'7" teddy bear each night to get over this loneliness. His name is Franklin, and my job subsidized him as a business expense. That's fantastic. Franklin is so cute, by the way. You can see if you follow Alec on Facebook, you can see his teddy bear. Okay. All right, let me just take another sip here, and I'm going to do the next part of chapter 27, and then we'll take a break, and then it'll be chapter 28. Welcome back, Gay Fiction. Okay, just let me get my drink filled here. We're going on, and we're going on. Would you like accommodations on the ground, or will you remain on your ships? His mother asked High Counselor Novavor. I would request accommodation aboard the Osiris, the High Counselor stated simply. That won't be possible at this time, General Antoshkin interceded smoothly. Though Jace wanted to tell the general that wasn't his call, he didn't want to open up any possibility of High Counselor Novavor being on the Osiris. Though he was certain the Osiris could corral her and her people, it just didn't feel like a good idea to have her in this territory. Then we will return to our vessels. High Counselor Novavor's gaze swung over the destroyed Area 67 base. Jace knew that no one had been harmed. The Osiris had cleared everyone out of the area before it had launched into orbit. But there was quite a bit of damage to the base. He saw that his mother was regarding it with a little bit of exhaustion as well. Jace, I think that you should take your father up to the Osiris for now, she said. I need to get the cleanup managed. He saw General Antoshkin open his mouth to undoubtedly say that he wished to accompany Jace and his father, but then he appeared to have a change of heart and said, Would you have Thama pick me up, Jace? You and your father should have a good time flying together. Of course, General. Jace gave the man probably the first genuine smile he had since he met him. He touched his suit's forearm, calm. Thama, you will have a passenger. General Antoshkin would like a ride to the Osiris. Will do. I'll be right there, General. Thama then proceeded to do another loop. The general watched her flight maneuvers with a little bit of trepidation. I do hope she'll fly me directly there. No chance, General, his father said with a grin. The general touched his stomach and looked a little green. Jace just shook his head. We should return to the Ashatan, my son, to discuss things, High Counselor Novavor said to Koth. Koth straightened and crossed one arm over his chest and bowed his head. Of course, High Counselor. Jace felt more than a trace of sympathy for Koth then. He couldn't imagine calling his mother by her rank. He wondered if he'd have to at some point. Somehow calling out, Mom! In the middle of proceedings with the Illumin Alliance didn't exactly scream professionalism. But Jace's feelings were even more mixed, as with a bob of her head at him, High Counselor Novavor started towards her ship, and Koth followed after her. That yawning sense of instability opened in Jace's chest. He nearly reached for the Thafel commander. With quiet strength, Koth said to him, I will return. Right, you better. You're the commander of the Osiris. Jace's voice sounded surprisingly weak. Koth hesitated a moment. For a second, Jace thought he might hug him again. That would have been amazing. But of course, Koth did not. He just nodded once more and turned on his heel. Jace watched him go and tried to tell himself it was not for the last time. Koth would return. He would insist on it. Ready to go, champ? His father's voice was studiously neutral. Are you all right, Jace? Gehenna asked, her pinchers coming up to touch in front of her. I'm fine. It's just... He's been there for all of it, Gehenna stated, since the very beginning, really. Now you feel alone in this. But you aren't. No, I'm not, and he's coming back, Jace said as he watched Koth enter his mother's Paladin-class ship. You did incredibly well, Jace, his mother said as the gangway closed, and Koth was lost from view. Did I? I don't really know. Jace answered her, his chest feeling tight as the Paladin-class ship's engines ignited the same blue color as Koth's eyes. You've controlled the rules of engagement, General Antashkin told him with a bright smile. Set her back on her heels. First time I've seen her concede anything at all. I highly doubt she thinks she's conceded anything, his mother replied dryly. She's biding her time. But you have given her pause, Jace. You've behaved admirably. The ships from the Asheton were all rising above the ground. There was the hot, dry smell of their exhaust that reminded him of heat lightning. Then they were all shooting towards the sky. We need to discuss our strategy regarding what we want from the Alliance, General Antashkin stated. Protection for Earth, Jace guessed. Of course, but that's just for starters. The general rubbed his hands together. We want a seat at the table. We want to be part of the Alliance. Not just a part, but a deciding part. But humanity doesn't even know aliens exist yet, Jace protested with a furrowed brow. Don't we have to sort that out first? This is going to take time, Jace. Time we don't have, his mother admitted slowly. We have people who do know who are suited for diplomacy. Like? Jace asked. Her lips twitched. Me, actually. He blinked. Oh. A blush heated his mother's cheeks. I've been playing that role in a small way with all representatives from the Alliance. Now I can play a larger role and represent humanity to the Council and beyond. Jace had no doubts that his mother would be brilliant at it. I see that. You'd be perfect. I'm glad you think so, because your word is going to have a lot of weight, she told him carefully. At that moment, Thama landed. The gangway practically popped open, and her voice came from inside. Woohoo, General! Time to get on board the Thama train. The general snorted. It's hard to believe that she's the same species as the others. I think she was exiled for that reason, Jace replied, but I like her. Another member of the crew, Gehenna cried. Yeah, I think so too, Jace agreed. I'll see you in the Osiris, the general told them, and headed to the Cryptoria 2 with a half dozen soldiers following after him. As soon as the gangway closed, Jace said to his parents, I've got some ideas that I want to run by both of you about being independent. I thought you might go that route. If you aren't under the U.S. military's command, you'll have more room to maneuver, his mother agreed. Yeah, I have humanity's best interests at heart, and I want to be part of all this, he told her. But General Antashkin can't be calling the shots. Even not even you guys can be. He was surprised when both his parents exchanged a glance that seemed to indicate this wasn't surprising to them. You're natural at this, Jace, his father said with admiration, but a little sadness, too. You were chosen as the pilot for a reason. I just know what I want right now, Jace said, his heart feeling heavy in his chest as he looked for Koth but didn't see him standing there like always. You need to be careful showing her how much you like Koth, his mother broke in. His head jerked towards her. He's a friend. His mother's eyebrows rose. It was almost a Koth like rise. Of course he is. He is. Jace sounded a little shrill. He's just been there for all of this, and he's handy with weapons. And he gives really good hugs. He has a lot of competing interests, Jace, his father said in a relatively neutral way. Just remember that. Jace wanted to protest, but neither of his parents was truly saying anything that wasn't true. Yet, Koth mattered to him. Really mattered, and he couldn't deny that either. I'll remember, Jace said finally. I'll see you both later. I need to go and take care of things here, his mother said. Both of them hugged her. She actually turned and patted one of Gehenna's tentacles as she passed, going towards the soldiers and a jeep that awaited her, which had Gehenna practically floating 12 feet into the air. Her crush had noticed her. Jace bit down on his snickering. Then, with a renewed sense of purpose, he said, Ready to fly, Dad? Maybe to the moon and back? His father's eyes widened and a grin fixed on his face. You can even fly me to Jupiter and Mars. Jace grinned. That's just the start. Okay, that's the end of chapter 27. And I just noticed something. Unless I fix this in chapter 28 or 29, which I don't think I did, obviously Gehenna goes with his mother. And I don't note her leaving to do that. So that's always the joy of serial writing. But I can go back and fix that. Okay. Do. All right. All right, what are we doing here? Okay. People are talking to one another. Someone says Jace is clingy. Yeah, he's a little clingy. Um, I think though he's really just taken things so well that there would be something where he needs something to anchor himself to, and Koth is definitely a good anchor. Alex says, I simply must play more StarCraft. For sure. I'm so deep into Baldur's Gate, as Kat knows. It's dangerous. Miss Lily says, roast lemon, caper chicken, Brussels sprouts, French batard, and roasted garlic cloves, white wine, and listening to Wraith Rain, black cherry mousse for dessert. A perfect. Oh my God. Miss Lily, don't do this to me. You're making me so hungry. Hannah says, I want to be on the Thama train. Who does not want to be on the Thama train? Everyone wants to be on the Thama train. Helen agrees with me about being so hungry, as does Gooby Games. Let's see here. Yes, as does, yeah, everybody does. Everybody does. Hot Lipton tea with granola. And Gay Fiction says, I'm eating gizzards. Are they deep fried gizzards? Tiana says, just a friend. Okay, lie again. I know it's like so obvious that he's like got such a crush. And Melly says to Tiana, they always say that, but we know it's so much more. Gooby says, ah. Home says, fly me to the moon. I can't sing, so I don't want to curse you guys with my voice. Helen says, I'm going to make my own food. It's currently almost midnight. Oh my gosh. Helen. Let's see here. Sophie says, I sleep with tiny plushies of Kylo and Hux from Star Wars. I make the plushies hug each other and it makes me happy. Yeah, yes, absolutely. It's a far better ending than what did happen. And I love if people don't know, Sophie does really awesome cosplay of Star Wars. Really excellent. Crystal says, I'm ordering Arby's from DoorDash. Go Arby's. Go Arby's. Horsey sauce. Okay, let me get back because we're going to go do 28 because I know I was really late to start. Okay, guys, we're doing 28, my friends. So I'm going to do probably half of 28 and then stop for a moment. You can obviously comment as this thing is going. If you have any questions, please know that I will answer them in the downtime between the two halves of the chapter. Okay. Chapter 28. The Power of Silence. Silence was a peculiar thing. It seemed to have physical weight at times, even though that was impossible. At others, it felt strangling, as if it were an animal at one's throat. But most times, it was a stick that prodded one into unwise speech and action. The silence between himself, his mother, and the rest of the Thafel and the dropship had aspects of all three. It got heavier when they arrived at the Asheton. It closed off Koth's throat as the gangway lowered with a burst of steam, clouding the air and obscuring the hangar bay. And yet Koth thought and discarded half a dozen conversation starters from the moment his feet touched the gangway to the moment they left it. There was an honor guard forming a line for them to walk down. It struck Koth as odd at first because while there had always been efficiency and respect for command on his own vessels, there had never been needless pomp and circumstance. There was simply too much to do to require women and men to stand at attention so that some diplomat's ego was not bruised. But there were dozens of warriors, 3 rows deep, on either side of the gangway when they emerged. And despite what had evidently been done with time and care, his mother looked neither right nor left at the warriors who bowed their heads and crossed their arms over their chest in unison. Jace would likely think this dismissive of the people who serve her, Koth realized as he seemed to see his people from an outside perspective for once. He told himself, though, that Jace would be incorrect. She is honoring them by honoring her role as High Counselor, for it is not her personally they serve, but the position. Yet Koth still had a niggling feeling that Jace would just say that meant the position, and treated those who served them dismissively. He could also imagine Thama cheering Jace on. The faint smile on his lips caused his mother to cock an eyebrow at him. He quickly smoothed his expression to one of neutrality, but he held onto the happiness that imagining Jace and Thama brought him. He had a feeling that there would be little else to sustain him from what was to come. The silence did not end until they entered his mother's quarters, which were in the center of the Asheton, the safest place on the ship. It did have its own escape pod, which would send it slingshotting down a tube at a high rate of speed and out of the Colossus class ship. The guards who had accompanied them were left outside, so it was just the two of them in her quarters. But even then, she did not speak at once. This was her way. She dealt in silence. It was a sword and shield for her. His father had often said that her silences were more powerful than any words he could ever utter. Koth was finding that true at that moment as well. But he would not break the silence because that would automatically have him on the losing end of the conversation. And he had a feeling that he would need every win he could get with her. What he had done and why he had done it were complicated. He had no idea how to explain his careful consideration of each act. I did what I felt was right, but that is not an answer that will satisfy her. It did not when I saved Desa, he thought. His mother's quarters were large for a spacecraft, even a Colossus class, but mostly spared to match her tastes. Upon entry, there was a circular introduction chamber with a star shaped pattern on the floor, where guests would wait before being ushered into the command quarters. In the command quarters, there was a large desk that allowed her to access all ship systems and three chairs. The walls were currently a soft orange like morning skies on Hassian. There was a large clear screen mounted on one that showed their planet with its sun just about to rise above the horizon. The wall's color would change with the sun's position, as if they were on the planet. Everything here, and not just here, relates to Hassian. Koth realized, and it disturbed him. Shouldn't his mother be streaming Earth since it was orbiting below them? It would help them with the time lag that some suffered from when they went through from when going through far gates. Okay. But no, it was Hassian time. And it would always be Hassian time, no matter where they were. He followed his mother into the command quarters. The floor was a deep blue, the same color as their Tana. It was polished to a high shine and reminded Koth of water. He half expected to fall in at any moment. She rounded the desk and seated herself on the executive side, while he stood between the two other chairs, waiting for her permission to sit. The one frivolity in the room was a glass bowl on the right side of the desk that held two Hasker fishes. They had luminous bodies the color of new kelp and often appeared to be kissing. They were a gift from Desa. She'd found them in a nameless world and given them to his mother as an almost kind of joke. Two fishes constantly kissing was the least thing his mother would have, yet she gave it pride of place. It was the only personal thing she kept on board. There was a sleeping chamber to his left and an entertaining chamber to his right. Both of these rooms were closed, but he knew that they would contain no other personal things. It could have been because his mother rarely left Hassie in these days. Why would she keep anything on board when she would hardly ever see it or be able to use it? But she was this spare at home, too. If his father, Desa himself, hadn't brought warmth and character into their dwelling and left it to their mother to decorate, it would have been as bare as this. What would Jace think of her if he saw this space? Koth found himself wondering. Would he just be so odd to be in a spaceship that he wouldn't look deeper? No. He would notice the lack of things. He would make a judgment about it. He'd probably be concerned for her and want to cheer her up. Just like Desa. You can sit, Koth, his mother said, and from her tone he realized she had offered this more than once, and he'd been so deep into his daydreaming that he had not heard her. He immediately sank down into one of the chairs. His stomach clenched as he realized that such inattention was worse than if he had spoken first. He could not be distracted for this meeting. He could not risk being sent away, though Jace had offered him an independent commission on the Osiris. But he had never seriously considered it. He was Alliance through and through. He just had to convince his mother that he was the person for this job, that he hadn't messed up things so badly, that this was a benefit for all of them, and he must be allowed to see it through. The thought of not seeing Jace again was. He couldn't fully capture it, but his Z seemed to shrivel in on itself. She told Jace that she would return me to him, so hopefully, no matter what happens during this meeting, she will keep that promise, Koth thought. You need not worry that I will keep you long, she said, smiling as she took in his erect posture that seemed to indicate he wanted to leap out of the chair and race back to earth. I can tell you have much on your mind. The question was if she guessed what was on his mind, or rather who. He cared for Jace's well being because he was A person, like one would care for any comrade that had gone through an experience like they had. It was no deeper than that. But he kept envisioning Jace smiling at him in the kitchen. He'd not enjoyed himself that much in a very long time. So long, he couldn't remember when. It has been a trying cycle, he stated neutrally, instead of trying to parse out his complicated thoughts about Jace Parker and everything that had happened that day. She nodded. When I sent you to Earth, I had hoped to give you some time to bring your Z and Za into alignment after. Here she paused. And that pause was the same as a scream for someone else, but then forced herself to continue. After Dace's leaving. Koth was relieved she had not used Dace's rank when she said her name. This meant that this conversation was between mother and son. But instead, she continued on, we have both an opportunity and a threat before us. Koth's forehead furrowed. I see the opportunity, but not the threat. She actually allowed herself to smile fully. Yes, I am aware of that. But your exposure to humans has been limited, and you have not heard their demands before now. He opened his mouth to say that Thelma's exposure had been far longer, and she appeared to enjoy them quite a bit. But his mother would not be impressed with Flight Commander Thelma Pyrus's opinion on anything. And really, in the past, he would have agreed with her. But he'd flown with Thelma. She had saved his life not once but many times. He could see her value, even if she was eccentric, to say the least. Despite the few subcycles I have spent with Jace, I can ascertain that he is nothing like what humanity has been described to me as. Koth finally answered to express how he did not fully agree with his mother's assessment of the species. They are immature, violent, and aggressive species. Even if there are individuals among them that might cause some admiration, overall, they are quite dangerous, his mother countered. For they see none of their weaknesses, at least not enough to question whether they ought to play a major role in galactic events, or leave that to more advanced species who know better. Koth held his tongue for a moment. How worthy a species was, how advanced, had always been determined by their ability to use precursor tech. He pointed that out. Jace is the pilot. He has access to precursor tech at a level that no one else has, Koth stated. It stands to reason that humanity should be a great part of the Alliance, should it not? Jace is only important because of the ship, his mother countered. The Osiris is like no other. If it had not crash landed here, it would have taken on a more appropriate pilot. But it was clearly desperate and did what it had to do in order to survive. Koth had no hard data to suggest she was wrong, but he felt she was incorrect. Yet such an argument would be lost before it was begun because it was based upon his gut and not facts. If we were to use that as a guiding point, others might say that because Hassian was rich with precursor tech is the only reason that the Fel holds so many important roles, not because we are truly advanced, but because of chance, he said. His eyes flickered to hers to see her expression. You are being far more fair minded than I thought you would be about this, Koth, she said, tapping her lower lip. I am just pointing out the potential hypocrisy of such a statement. We do not know that the Osiris would have bonded with another species. In fact, the Osiris has had opportunities to bond with the Fel and did not, Koth simply answered. We normally do not send our best to Earth, she answered with a faint, wry smile. You were the exception, of course. Thalma is an exceptional pilot. She is being wasted on Earth, or she was, Koth stated loyally. The wry smile on her mother's face grew. She is unique. That is why she does not get on. Koth was tempted to state that she got on quite well with humans, that humans had adopted her into their families for their celebrations, and in general as their friend. But his mother didn't think much of humanity's judgment either. I have gone on a mission with Jace. Koth turned the subject back to the young man. I observed someone who would impress even you. She regarded him carefully for long moments. The silence stretched. I am glad you think so highly of him. I believe that it will make your task easier. Task? He frowned, but then his heart rate increased. She was going to agree that he should remain with Jace and the Osiris as the Alliance representative. Despite everything that had gone so wrong, the questionable choices he made, all of it, she was going to give him the one thing he wanted. The humans wanted to be part of the Alliance before, but now, with their pilot and the Osiris, knowing their arrogance and overreach, they will want to have a seat on the council itself, she told him, and stabbed a finger against the top of the table. I see. And he did see. But unlike his mother, he did not necessarily blame them for their desire to have control over their own destiny. Why should they trust the Alliance to do what was best for them when it demonstrated again and again that it would not? So she paused and gazed at him again long and deeply. We must find a way to keep the pilot and the Osiris on our side when we deny humanity what its grasping claws want. Koth held himself very still. Jace had agreed he would help them against the Cool. There was no doubt in Koth's Z of that, but Jace needed assurances in return that Earth would be safe. He said as much to his mother. Jace's greatest concern is the return of the Cool to Earth in retaliation for taking out their ground forces and their hive, Koth told her. He wants Earth protected. Surely there are some ships we could spare to do that. His mother tilted her head. We would have to take them from somewhere else, perhaps Obeven, Est, or Jint. Koth noted that she did not mention Hassian, even though most of the fleet patrolled there. It was the location of the Council and the Thafel homeworld, but it had more than enough ships. He thought of the three worlds she suggested. Obeven has only one command there, the Colossus-class ship Afridi, and two Saber-class ships, along with a few dozen Paladin-class. Koth stated, Est and Jint have even less than that. Your objection? She asked. You are asking for Jace to risk his life for us and leave his planet in our hands, he said. If we send but a few vessels from each of those worlds, that will hardly be enough. If, no when, Earth is attacked, Jace will see our failure to protect his homeworld as a complete breach of trust. We could send them all, she suggested. He jolted in his seat, catching himself only at the last moment, but the movement had been seen. All of those world's ships. But that would leave those planets completely undefended, Mother. You know this. You cannot be serious. They bring little in a way of benefit to the Alliance. They are not near strategic gates. It is unlikely that the Cool will attack them, she said with a shrug, but she was watching him closely, even if her other movements suggested otherwise. Unlikely? My recollection tells me that each of those planets has suffered over a dozen attacks each of the last grand cycle alone. Koth's voice was rising, and he strained to control it. So you think we should send resources from other planets instead to protect Earth? She queried. If the Osiris is as important as we think, it could be then we should be generous with our protection of Earth, Koth stated, controlling his tone. We should draw down resources from places where there is an excess. We place assets, Koth, where the members of the Alliance want them, she reminded him. If you remove vessels from well trafficked and fully important worlds, there will be bad feelings and dissent. There are places that I can name right now that have excess vessels. You consider it excess, but I assure you that those worlds do not. If we were to move those excess ships, we cannot give the humans anything more, she told him. We must remain firm that Jace and the Osiris are fully under Alliance control. The humans will be kept safe, but not members of the Alliance, let alone on the Council. That way, the other members of the Alliance will accept, grudgingly, the assistance we are giving Earth. It will cost considerable political capital to do even this. Koth realized as she said this that she had not yet told him what his task was, and dread filled his belly. I do not think that Jace will be agreeable to such a deal. It is wholly unfair to Earth. You are likely correct, unless Jace had another reason for doing this, a personal reason. Okay, I'm going to take a little break there. Okay. Kelly says margaritas have having one of those and feels like ages. I miss margaritas too. Oh God. Um Home says plus people don't understand the meaning of do not disturb. Yeah, no, they don't. All right. You guys are talking amongst yourselves. Okay. Um Alexa says a map of the galaxy would be awesome. Plots. Oh my god. That would be awesome. I'm just not good at that kind of thing. I'd have to work with somebody. Right now my plate is like overflowing. But that's cool. Helen says, "Wow, his mother is evil, but in her position she has no choice." Yeah, that's the problem. Is that you don't get to be where she is without basically having to make some very hard decisions. It depends if they affect you or not. Tara says, fully important worlds, way ego. So, wait here. I see, Melody says, I see politics plagues even the aliens. Oh, yes. Helen says, so much political intrigue. I hate it and love it. And she goes, oh, in the mid chapter cliffhanger. I know I had to do that. Alex says, did someone mention pillows? They did not, but I have a feeling that you had to talk about it. Gay Fiction says, oh my God, don't tell me that they're going to hurt the poor cinnamon roll to get him on their side. Oh, I know. They can't hurt the poor cinnamon roll. Hannah says, my sister says she likes the way you speak on behalf of Koth's mother. You portray the character well in your voice. Oh, thank you. I'm trying to keep it within the characters that I've said, but it keeps changing a little bit. Pam says, with what she says, the alliance has grasping hands. Yes, but I find that people most likely project what they are onto other people because they don't think that other people think differently than them. In the end, I think some people just always do that. It drives me crazy. Okay, so let me just take another sip here of Diet Coke, and then I'll finish up the chapter. No, not the cinnamon roll. Aniko says, I feel like you can already see the change in her demeanor from the first time we met her up till now. I feel bad for her. Yes, she's getting more and more desperate. More and more desperate. She really, really, truly is. And she does love her son. And she doesn't feel she feels like being with Jace is not some like terrible thing because she can tell that he likes him very much. No, but still, it's just disconcerting. All right. Okay. Here we go on. She put her hands on the table and laced her fingers together, then unlaced them, then laced them again. This was an uncharacteristic show of nerves. Koth's sense of dread deepened. I do not know what reason Jace might have to consider this lopsided deal, Koth said stiffly. I think you do. And that's why I'm relieved. Glad about what I saw regarding your interactions with him earlier. His mother's voice was slightly softer. Koth straightened. We are comrades in arms. He has shown considerable power over his Z, and he. Here he paused and swallowed deeply, but decided he would say what he thought in the hopes that it would short circuit whatever plan his mother had that he was certain he would not like and Jace would like even less. He reminds me of Desa. He had been right that those words would affect her. His mother went silent. Her shoulders sagged. She seemed exhausted, despairing, and even defeated for a moment. Is he? She murmured softly. Yes. He's as intuitive as she was, as brave, as determined. He takes risks, but there's always some logic behind them. Koth found himself smiling faintly, even as his throat constricted, comparing Jace's action to his sister's. Then you will not have to pretend to like him, his mother said with a sort of relief in her voice. Koth blinked. Pretend to. Koth, it is clear to me that Jace Parker has taken a great interest in you. He depends upon you. He seeks you out, needing your strength and guidance, yes? His mother asked. Her voice wasn't exactly that of the High Counselor, but it wasn't exactly his mother either. He appears to appreciate. Your presence comforts him, she continued on. We are just learning each other's ways, Koth answered awkwardly. Even as he said this, he wondered if Jace was having a good time teaching Jack to fly, and he suddenly wished he could speak to his father then. That is good. She flattened her palms against the table. I need you to deepen and maintain your relationship with him. Koth blued. He knew what she was suggesting, but he could not believe she was saying it. That she was also his mother and saying it was even more awkward. You are suggesting that I seduce him so that he will betray whatever his people want to work for the Alliance? Koth asked, though really he already knew the answer. And tell him we cannot be together if he does not? His mother did not disappoint him. Yes. Just yes. No explanation. No telling him how hard it was. Oh crap. Sorry guys. Sorry guys. And I'm sure that's actually a telemarketer. It's not even anyone important. They wanted to sell me a warranty on my car. Okay. Um just yes. No explanation. No telling him how hard it was for her to ask him to do such a thing. Was it hard? Was it easy? How far do you wish me to take this ruse? He asked. Would it be a ruse? His mind asked back, and he slapped that down. He and Jace were becoming comrades, perhaps even friends, but lovers? Jace was interesting. He remembered the hug. A simple embrace for a human, but for a Thafel meant so much more. He had given it, to be sure. He had hardly hesitated. Jace had needed him. As far as it needs to go, his mother answered. As far. A physical relationship? His lips were numb. Yes, that would be wise. I think humans are very physical creatures. There's research on this that I would encourage you to study, she said. As you already know, they are greatly moved by their Z's. You will need to know how to handle this. I did not say I would do this, Koth finally managed to say. His mother blinked slowly. Koth, the reason that a friendship is developing between Jace and I is because we are being authentic with one another. It is not forced. Koth struggled to explain. He would know if I were being false with him. His mother studied him again, and he almost snarled at her. What? What are you looking for? What are you hoping or fearing to see? Just tell me. But he remained silent. He would not let her use this silence as a sword or shield against him. He would ignore it. I think you underestimate yourself, my son, she murmured. Perhaps I should rephrase. I will not be false with him, Koth stated firmly. Silence fell again. She broke it with a sigh as her whole posture changed again. She became High Counselor Nova Vor between one moment and the next. I am not asking, Commander. This is an order, she told him, her voice firm and emotionless. You will do this on behalf of the Alliance. He was again stunned into silence. She likely saved him from what he would have said by standing up at that moment to leave. He rose on slightly shaky legs, but she waved him down. I have things that I must attend to, she told him. You need to compose yourself and prepare. I want your thoughts on all of the humans you have interacted with, but I want a clear view of them myself for our meeting next cycle. I know that you will need to return to Jace's side in any event. Koth sank back down into the chair. She walked past him, heading for the door. At the last moment, she put one hand on his shoulder. Her fingers barely brushed the skin of his neck. We must all make sacrifices, Koth, she said. Your sister gave her life. I am just asking for you to do what is already in your Z to do. The Alliance needs Jace Parker. And Jace Parker needs you already. If you really thought that, why not let things take their natural course? Koth asked. Because nothing can be left to chance these cycles, my son. Things are more dire than you know, she said. And then she left, and he was alone with the fish in her quarters, and a heavier silence than he had ever known. And that is the end of chapter 28, baby. We did it. We did a live stream. All right, let's see what you're saying here. Okay. I mean, scroll up. Ellen says she's between a rock and a hard place. She is. Um, there's now hashtag protect the cinnamon roll. It's so cute. Helen says, "Oh no, she's making her move." Yes, she is. Gay Fiction says, "I don't like the fact that she has to get Jace on her side like that, but I do understand she is in between a rock and a hard place, so I don't hate her. I don't want people to hate her, and I know that's sort of she's not she's not easy to like right now. She really isn't. But she is not a villain. Um, but she's not necessarily on our hero's side either." Crystal says she's pimping out her son to get her way. Awesome parenting there. I know she's not a good parent. I think she's really never understood Koth. Dasa has always. I think Dasa's always felt bad for him because his mother does not respect his strengths, which are actual real strengths. And then let's see here. Alex says, "Nova, you are a bad, bad mother. Your son is not a whore." That's true. That's true. Honeypots do not end well. And then Sophie says she lost you. Oh, that's not good. I hope you're refreshed. He don't want to fake around Jace. He's falling for Jace. Yeah, he doesn't want to because you're right. He is falling for Jace, and that's why he would have an objection. I mean, among other reasons, but the very fact that he's actually very close to Jace is getting closer to Jace is the big deal. Abigail says he would definitely betray her. I feel it deep in my gut. Yeah, this is going to be interesting. Hold on 1 second. This thing keeps jumping, and I missed something about thousands of ships. Okay, everything's frozen. That's good. That's good. Yeah, totally, it's good. At least on my screen. Okay, now it's coming back. The discussion about where to find the ships will be a lot easier when they see the hangar bay of the Osiris with, I suppose, thousands of ships. They have a ton of Paladin class fighters. If you think about it with like Star Wars, they always have the X-wing or whatever, not the the I can't even think of the right names for the Imperial ships, forgive me. But they have those ships within these larger ships, but the Paladin class fit, but stuff like the Saber class and the Colossus can't be in there, and they need those bigger vessels, not just Paladin class. And that's the problem. Alex says, "I sometimes go to the park and live stream the stream live." You have a better computer than I do. Now this is really ticking me off when I realize that this is the problem. Can says, "Then I wonder if she really knows her own son. Is power blinding her?" She doesn't understand Koth, and Dasa's always known that she's never understood her, and I think Dasa actually tried to build her brother up because she recognized the value in him of being different. But I think with Nova, she is quite frankly so wrapped up in what she's doing, which is understandably important. She can't take the time for what she sees as nonsense. So Change Angel Wing says, "Oh my goodness, you are live on YouTube. I was too afraid that my family would see my activity on Facebook." Great. We're going to be on both. So you can totally come here and now see us every time we do this. Lurleen says, "Jace needs to put both High Counselor and the General in their place in a quiet and firm way." Oh, he will. He definitely will. Alex says, "TIE Fighter." Thank you, Alec. Jesus. How could I forget that? Helen says, "Go with your heart, Koth." Sorry for misspelling. Don't worry about it. Yes, that's fine. He does have to go with his heart. Holmes says, "That's why I have 3 YouTube accounts so people can't track what you're watching." Yeah. I felt very, very, very lucky that my mother, since I was a kid, and I was writing gay romance when I was 12, incesty gay romance, and I read it to her. Yeah. Anyway, my mother is really awesome of that. She always basically was just like, "Go with God." She knew I loved it, and she doesn't understand it, but she's like, "People like it, so you're good." Lily says, "I just got laid off from my job for a few weeks, Once I get back, I'm hoping to get a membership soon after. I love your stories. Oh, I'm so sorry, Lily, that you got laid off for a while. Things are so hard right now. They really are. But don't worry, there's tons of free stuff that's coming up. So don't worry about that. The story is always free, and I'm sending out free books a lot. I know people can't always be a part. Gay Fiction says, I feel like there is a big gap between mother and son. There is a huge gap. Tara says he's going third party with Jace. I think that's eventually what's going to happen, where I think that, Jace, I the way I see it going, and don't hold me to this because things do change. One of the things that they did in Mass Effect was that they had species on board the ship representing like members of sort of their group that weren't on the council, and they allowed them to have a greater role and to right some wrongs. And I think Jace is going to have independent members from a lot of species working on the ship that are not representative, that are not represented on the council. Melly says, your mother is amazing. Yes, she is in very many ways. She has her flaws, as they all do. But I have to say that she always supported me, and she's never been ashamed of me. And she tells her friends about it. I'm like, go mom, and it's allowed me, I think, to, obviously do what I love. But more importantly, I get to employ people doing what they love and what I love. So it's all cool. Sophie says, a few days later, Koth's mom, so did you follow my orders to seduce Jace so that he stops making Earth his priority? Koth, well, I got seduced by Jace and stopped giving the Alliance my priority. Helen says, wow, your mother is amazing. Yes, I really don't know what I would have done if I had a child who came to me and reading gay father-son incest. I can't still, when I think about it that way, I'm like, holy shit. Wow, my mom was either the worst mom on earth or the best. In that way, she was the best. Gay Fiction says, Koth has a big choice. He does. Alex says, I think you accidentally skipped a bunch of comments. I did. It won't let me scroll up, which I'm so annoyed with right now. I'll get it down. When I switched over, it doesn't let me scroll all the way up. I'll figure it out. Gay Fiction says, go with his feelings or with the law he has been raised around. If you really had to think about leaving your country or your world, for someone that you pretty much just met, even though you think they're super cool and really amazing, I think that would be a really hard thing to ask of anyone. But at the same time, she's asking him to go against his honor. And for Koth, his honor is the biggest thing. I mean, the Fowler is supposed to be superior, and what she's asking him to do is not superior in any way. Abigail says, I want to make a gay romance book. Me and my mom are planning it out. But the thing she doesn't know if that it's going to be gay and sensual scene. I will do the rest behind her back. Oh, you don't know if she wants to add some sex scenes? Well, you could always fade to black, but if you write the sex scenes, why not? She doesn't have to see them. Truthfully, I think as fun as the sex scenes are, I really find the build up to them the most satisfying. Home says, I'll scream with excitement. Yay. Helen's like, me too. Yay. If a kid did that to me, yeah, I know. I couldn't, I love the fact that she was so open-minded. Mind you, I am actually in my 40s and I was 12. So that's a long time ago before gay people. That was during the time when it was like you were really in the closet in America. It's hard to fathom that now a little bit, but it was like well before any of this was acceptable. And my mom's in her late 70s, almost 80. And the fact that she was like this so long ago, just I think speaks very well of her. I'll say that. Gay Fiction says him being a shoulder for Jace and dealing with this. Jace does need him because if you really think about it, Jace went from dealing with chronic health issues that were slowly decreasing his ability to interact with people to suddenly being this action hero. Now, this is the person that he's always believed himself to be and dreamed of himself to be, but this is a big change. Kelly says, Wraith, I'm heading out. Best of wishes on CNA 2 and hope to do these again next month. We will do this again next month. Okay. Well, I'm going here. Alec, will there be an extra reading this month due to last Saturday? No, I'm so sorry, Alec. There can't be. I am, as it is, so behind in Cinders and Ashes. And I know that you guys think, well, this is just a few hours of your day. But as I was telling Kat, it's actually really draining for me. And I have to, even as it is, after this, I do have to write. And I'm debating whether I'm going to tell my friend that I can't do anything tonight because I've really got to write. Thankfully, I've gotten to see Kat twice this week. Yeah, because that would be literally, and then, fortunately, we've done mostly for work, but for, whatever. Aniko says, yes, for me, the buildup is the part that makes the sex scene somewhat beautiful. I'm a person more concerned with feelings in general because they make life so sweet. Well, I really think it's that, like the wanting and the what's it going to be like. And then that's the payoff. The sex scene's the payoff. It's not the buildup. And the buildup is the best. Alex says, I know. Don't worry. We have got next week alone, by the way. Kat's going to be posting Hero. I read this this vampire short, so you will be getting so much of me reading. You'll be sick of it. Gay Fiction says, thank you for doing this. Alexis says, we still love you. I love you too. Crystal says, next weekend is Halloween. Yes, that's another thing. Alex says, I kid, you do you. Thanks. Melissa says, thanks, Wraith. Abigail says, Ola, Cat. Cat says, Ola back. Thank you so much from Helen. Like Dragon Rain. I'm glad you like Dragon Rain. We're going to have, we're going to have a lot this week. So don't even worry about it. Sophie says the best is the cuddling. Gay Fiction says, I really love this time where I shut myself in my room and listen. I'm glad that you're enjoying yourself. That's the best. Okay. I am going to end it here. Because poor Kat, who also has a ton to do, had to come over and work the tech. But hopefully we'll be good next month. All right, take care, you guys. Love you all. And I will talk to you soon.